Wow, all right. Welcome to the deep dive. Usually we, kind of take our time unpacking these complex topics, but tonight we're diving headfirst into some breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news indeed. Tottenham Hotspur have just suffered a shock defeat at home to Leicester City.
And this isn't just any loss. This has sent shockwaves through the Premier
Yeah.
League. We're talking about a team that's supposed to be, well, competing at the top of the table, losing at home to a team that, quite frankly, are fighting to avoid relegation.
Yeah, it's a real shocker, and I think, it begs the question, is Ange Postecoglou's time up at Spurs?
I mean, he has to be gone, right?
Yeah.
After a result like this, the results just haven't been good enough.
It's certainly not looking good for him, I have to say.
Yeah.
Losing at home to a team like Leicester City, it puts immense pressure on any manager, especially at a club like Tottenham.
Yeah, especially with their history, right? I mean, they have high expectations, and let's be honest, they've got a chairman who's, well, maybe a little trigger happy when it comes to managers.
Yeah, we're talking about Daniel Levy, of course. I mean, he's built a reputation for making swift decisions, especially when it comes to managers.
And this result, I mean, Tottenham were leading in this match, and they managed to give up that lead. That's got to have Daniel Levy asking some tough questions.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this sort of collapse, it just screams, Levy's making a change.
Now, speaking of collapses, our source uses this very interesting term to describe Tottenham. Spursy. What exactly does that mean?
So Spursy is basically, well, it kind of sums up this frustrating pattern that Tottenham fans know all too well. The inconsistency, the underachievement, the snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. It's that feeling that no matter how talented the squad might be, they'll always find a way to let you down.
Okay, so we've got this Spursy history. We've got a team that was winning and then blew the lead, and now everyone's wondering if Ange is about to get the boot. But is it really all his fault?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, our source hints that maybe, just maybe, the problem goes a bit deeper than just the manager. They point to a moment last season where Tottenham had a chance to beat Manchester City. It was a result that could have really helped their North London rivals, Arsenal. Um,
Hold on, are you saying that Tottenham players would rather see their rival succeed than win themselves?
well, the source suggests that this incident, and I'm paraphrasing here, reveals a lack of a true winning mentality at the club. It's almost as if some players are prioritizing other things over getting results.
Wow, that's pretty damning.
Yeah.
But how much of that can you really blame on Ange?
Yeah.
He wasn't even the manager back then.
That's true. And this is where things get really interesting. The source argues that this Spursy mentality, it's like a virus. It infects players, it infects managers. It's a cultural issue at the club, almost like a pattern of behavior that just seems to persist regardless of who's in charge.
So is Daniel Levy going to hit the panic button? Is he going to sack Ange Postecoglou before he even has a chance to turn things around? I mean, they've got that second leg against Liverpool coming up. Could this loss be the final straw?
It's definitely a possibility. Livy has never been shy about making a change if he feels that a manager isn't the right fit. And this result against Leicester is a massive red flag. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me at all if we saw an announcement, maybe even before that Liverpool match.
So we're talking about a managerial sacking potentially happening within hours of this match ending. This is intense.
It is, it is. And the thing is, even if Ange does survive this immediate crisis, the only way he can truly succeed at Tottenham, according to our source, is if the players themselves take some responsibility.
That's Serbsy mentality.
Exactly. Yeah, they need to show that they're hungry, they need to want to win, and they need to shed that label for good.
That's a big ask. So it's not just about formations. It's not just about tactics. It's about, a fundamental shift in the mentality of the players.
It is, yeah. And if they can't do that, it begs the question, can any manager, regardless of their pedigree, can they truly succeed at Tottenham?
That's a good question. We'll have to see. But for now, we've set the scene, the stakes are high, and now we wait. We'll be back to break down the fallout from this bombshell result and what it all means for the future of Tottenham Hotspur. Stay with us.
We were just talking about the Spursy label, right? And I think, it's worth digging a bit deeper into what that really means.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to kind of throw around a term like that, but what are we actually seeing on the pitch? What are we actually seeing from the players that makes people use that word, that makes people call Tottenham Spursy?
Well, I mean, just think about that match against Leicester. Spurs, they were in control, they were leading the match, and then bang, it all just falls apart.
Yeah.
And that's classic Spursy to me, right? It's a lack of concentration, maybe a little bit of complacency crept in, and suddenly they're giving up goals and they're losing a match that they really should have won.
So it's not just about losing, it's about the way they lose.
It is, yeah. Yeah. It's that feeling that, they could beat anyone on their day, but they can also lose to absolutely anyone.
Yeah.
Even a team that's, struggling at the bottom of the table.
It's that inconsistency, that's that Spursy thing.
Yeah, exactly. And our source argues that this pattern, it goes back years,
Yeah.
maybe even decades, right? They talk about how Tottenham, they've always had these talented players,
Right.
but they seem to lack that killer instinct,
Yeah.
that ruthlessness that you see in teams that consistently win trophies.
It's almost like they get close, they get the fans excited, and then right at that crucial moment,
They bottle it.
yeah, they stumble.
They stumble.
Yeah, I could see why that would be so frustrating as a fan.
Oh, absolutely. And the source, they even suggest that this Spursy mentality has become so ingrained at the club that it's almost become like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
The players expect to mess it up. The fans expect them to mess it up. And then more often than not, well, they do.
So if it's that deep-rooted, I mean, what
Yeah.
can you do about it? Can you actually change a culture that's essentially part of a club's DNA?
$1 million question. And honestly, there are no easy answers. Our source, they're pretty pessimistic, I'd say.
Yeah.
They basically say that until the players themselves, until they decide that they've had enough, that they don't want to be Spursy anymore, well, nothing's really going to change.
So it's not about bringing in a new manager, it's about the players themselves taking responsibility.
It is. It is. They need to develop that hunger, that relentless desire to win that you see, in teams like Manchester City, like Liverpool.
Right.
And if they can't find that, well, it might not matter who's in the dugout.
That's a pretty sobering thought, I guess. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. I mean, Tottenham did reach a Champions League final not that long ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't that suggest that they are capable of performing at the highest level?
It's a fair point. I mean, it does show that they can rise to the occasion, right? But the problem is that those moments of brilliance, they've been few and far between.
Okay.
The source, they argue that until Tottenham can find a way to, bottle that magic and make it a consistent part of their game, that Spursy label, well, it's going to stick around.
It makes me wonder if it's not just about the players themselves, but about the whole environment, right? Is it possible that there's something about the culture at Tottenham that's actually, encouraging this inconsistency?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. And it's something that our source touches on as well. They kind of, float this idea that maybe Tottenham's focus on other things.
Like what?
Well, things like the concerts at the stadium, the NFL games, all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's a symptom of a larger issue, right? A lack of, a singular focus on winning football matches.
Right. So it's almost like if the club itself isn't fully committed to being a dominant force in football, then how can you expect the players to have that same level of commitment?
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, if Tottenham really want to shed that Spursy label, if they really want to become a genuine contender, are they willing to make those tough choices? Prioritize football above everything else? Or are they content to be a club that, that just kind of flirts with success and ultimately settles for, mediocrity?
That's a huge question, and I'm sure it's one that Daniel Levy's thinking about right now.
Yeah.
But before we, get into what all of this means for the future of Tottenham, I think it's worth taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture here. Because this isn't just about one club, right?
No.
This is about something that we see across all sports. It's that struggle to build a winning culture.
Uh-huh.
So we've been talking about this Spursy mentality at Tottenham, and it really makes you wonder, is this something unique to them? Or do other clubs, do they kind of struggle with this too?
Oh, no, it's definitely not unique to Tottenham. No. I think you see similar patterns in clubs all over the world. Teams that on paper, they seem to have all the right ingredients for success, but for whatever reason, they just can't quite put it all together.
So what is it? What's that secret sauce?
Yeah.
What separates the teams that consistently win from the teams that, they're always chasing that elusive victory?
I think a big part of it comes down to leadership. Having a manager who can really instill that winning mentality, create a culture of accountability, a culture of excellence.
Right.
But it's also about the players themselves buying into that vision, having that inner drive to be the best.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a bit of delicate balance, right? There's the right manager, the right players, the right culture. It all has to come together at the right time.
Absolutely. And even then, there's no guarantee of success. Football's a fickle game.
Yeah.
Sometimes luck plays a role.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to Tottenham, I mean, where do they go from here? We've talked about Ange Postecoglou, potentially being sacked, but even if he stays, what needs to happen for them to turn things around?
Well, I think first and foremost, the players, they really need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. They need to ask themselves, are they truly doing everything they can to win? Are they giving 100% in every match? Are they holding each other accountable?
So it's about more than just talent, right? It's about having that right attitude, that work ethic.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And if they can find that, within themselves, then maybe, just maybe, they can start to shake off this Spursy label and finally, start to build a winning culture at Tottenham.
It's a challenge for sure, but as you said, it's not impossible.
No, it's not. I mean, we've seen other clubs go through similar transformations, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe this loss to Leicester, maybe this will be the wake-up call that Tottenham needed.
Yeah.
Maybe this will be the catalyst for them to finally turn the corner and become the club that, everyone thinks they can be.
It could be. It could be. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. We've explored the highs and lows, the drama, the intrigue of this breaking news story at Tottenham Hotspur. And, as always, we've gone beyond the headlines to really trying to give you a deeper understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, and look, the future at Tottenham, it's uncertain, but one thing's for sure, it's going to be a fascinating journey.
It is. It is. So buckle up because this story is far from over.
Far from over.
Until next time, keep diving deep.